right. Welcome everyone to the March 12th, 2025 Meridian Parks and Recreation Commission special meeting. It is about 2 minutes past the hour. We'll, excuse me, call this commission meeting to order. Rachel, if you would start with the roll, please.
Certainly. Dom Gelsomino.
Present.
Jennifer Bobo.
Present.
Mandy Roberts.
Present.
Joe Greer. Ellie Hood.
Present.
Bree Sandow is absent. Terry Dennington.
Present.
John Nesmith is absent. And Alan Helms.
Present.
Thank you, Rachel. With a quorum being present, I would like to make a motion, or excuse me, I would like to request if there is a motion for the adoption of tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Greer,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
a motion has been made. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Roberts. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So ordered. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion for the approval of the minutes from the February 12th, 2025 special meeting?
Mr. President,
Commissioner Greer,
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the February 12th, 2025 special meeting.
Commissioner Greer has made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dennington seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So ordered. We are moving on to announcements with upcoming events by Shelley Houston and going to be with Steve today.
Shelly's homesick today, so I talked to her on the phone and she asked me to fill in for her. So I do have a few things for you. One is you have in front of you the retirement celebration announcement for Roger Norberg. He's asked to keep it low key, which we will try and do, but I know there's a lot of people that want a chance to swing by and say goodbye. So his last day is on Tuesday, April 1st. And so from 2 to 3 p.m., if you can come, we'll just be right here on the first floor of City Hall in what's known as Conference Room A and B. It'll just be kind of a simple meet and greet. If you can't make that and just want to reach out independently, I'm sure you'd welcome that, but we're not going to have a huge to-do, but I told them we were going to do a small to-do for people to say goodbye that wanted to. So really appreciate, since this is the last commission meeting before he retires, I'll just say on the record how much he's meant to this department over the last 16 years and that his leadership has been instrumental in the maintenance of our existing park system. He's done a wonderful job. So kudos to him and congratulations on retirement, but still got a few more weeks before we watch him right off into the sunset. So with that, the events calendar, I want to start, before I get into the actual calendar that you have in front of you, last month I came before you and requested feedback on the idea of moving the date for the parks tour clear out in September. So the dates were, the regular date would be the 10th, and I had asked about moving it a week earlier to the 3rd, which had general approval. As fate would have it, the conflict that I had that caused me to ask in the first place has moved. So if we want to do it on the 10th, that's totally fine. The 3rd works also, so I don't have a conflict with either one now. So we can keep it on the 3rd as you talked about, but I was actually going to somewhat propose that we just move it back to what would have been the original date on the 10th. Anyone have a preference was what I was going to ask today on 3rd versus the 10th.
Could you confirm that month?
September. So it'd be Wednesday, September 10th would be the normal commission night, which is when we have typically done it. We talked last month about moving it a week earlier to the 3rd. And the conflict that caused me to ask in the first place has moved. And so either date frankly works, but I'd propose we just move it back to our regular date on the 10th unless I hear back from council for some reason, because we want them to participate. But if for some reason, the third worked better for one of them. You know, either works for me, and it sounds like either works for you. So, okay, then I will put some feelers out to council and propose the 10th, but leave the 3rd as a in reserve in case something's better for them. With that, you have the 2025 events calendar in front of you. I will note that the Initial Point Gallery receptions, there was one last week on March 4th. It was really, really nice. If you haven't been able to go see the new display upstairs, I encourage you to go by and check it out. Maybe, well, maybe after this meeting, but I was just realizing that after this meeting, the elevators probably won't work without one of us taking you up there, which we can do. So let us know if you're interested. Main Street Market, I was going to jump to next. It says mid-April through late August, so roughly a month out. On April 12th is when they plan to kick those off. Still a little early in the season. There won't be any produce yet, but other market items will start to make an appearance. And then I would just jump down to Unplug and Be Outside, which is really the next internal big activity that we have, event planned for May 10th. And that's probably the next big one for our department to put on your radar. So with that, I'm going to end and just ask if there's any questions.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions from the commission?
I do have questions.
Commissioner Dennington?
Yes, so I wondered about the, I know that it's through the parks, that is the DAR.
DAR?
Yes,
Let me grab my phone. Yes.
Sure. Because I believe it's April 1st.
It is. That's what I was just going to look up. So the mayor's office has been more directly coordinating that, but it is in our park. It is going to be at Heroes Park. Let me see what time I have that down as. I think there it is, 11 a.m. at Heroes Park, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the plaque for, I think it's their anniversary, right? They will be installing a plaque in our Heroes Park near the flagpole. So there will be a dedication ceremony currently planned for 11 a.m. also on April 1st. So in the morning, late morning, right before lunch, and a few hours before Roger's retirement celebration. So
I do have another question.
go ahead.
Okay, so I know Shelley's not here and you probably aren't familiar with all of the different things, but the marketplace went till September last year. So it's just changed now. They moved it up to August to finish? Oh,
Be a Garrett question.
Yeah, basically what they did is they found that the attendance dropped quite a bit after August, and the vendors, the produce they didn't have a whole lot of vendors as well. So because they ran out of all their produce or those types of things, so they decided just to trial this year to end it in the end of August and see how that goes.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hearing none.
All right.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
We do not have any old business. We'll move on to new business with personally one of my favorite updates of the year, the Kleiner Park Community Garden update with our very own Julie.
Members of the commission, thank you for letting me talk to you about our garden. So my name is Julie Bokenkamp. For those of you that don't know me, this will be my 13th garden at Kleiner Park. And I was unable to present last year, and so this year is going to talk about 2024 last year, and I'm titling it Beauty in All Things, and talks a little bit about the Kleiner Community Garden along with the
Julie, would you swallow that mic a little bit so we can make sure it's
I was
broadcasting?
watching you, trying to see how far you were away from that. Okay.
There you go.
Anyway, but the Kleiner Community Garden along with pollinator projects at Hero Park and at Kleiner. Am I controlling that? Yeah, oops. So our partnership with the city of Meridian has been stellar. from the very beginning. I've just so appreciated all of the support that we've received from you. And it makes this garden incredibly possible. We do things that we didn't even think were possible. We have 0.67 of an acre, and we grow an amazing amount of produce on that garden to feed 33 families that care for the garden, along with about 6,000 to 9,000 pounds a year to local food banks. And this garden and the work that you see just basically reflects the love that all of us, through our families, give to this garden. This is what you guys did for us this year. The list was long. Every time I left the list, I thought of one more thing and I came back. First of all, I have to say that the employees are just dedicated to our projects. And I mean, they're just very helpful when we need help. We don't need a lot of help, but when we do, they're there. You guys supply the land and the water. There's irrigation repairs, use of heavy equipment. The drip lines for the raised beds were a new addition last year. We have used rooms A and B, and we get the use of Pavilion B in the fall for our party. We had a soil test this last year. Compost is ordered to help amend the soil. Shrubs and flowers were purchased for Heroes Park. Rock for the back of our walkway. I mean, over 13 years' time, 14 years' time, things start to wear down and need to be lifted again. Last year, I put a request in for some umbrellas, and so 4 umbrellas were purchased and added to the picnic tables that we have out there, and then a large trash receptacle in the fall so we can get rid of any diseased plants that don't go into our compost. So let's talk about the elephants in the room, because it's really easy to talk about beauty and all things, and it's really easy to look good on Facebook. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes, as you guys well know. So some of you know, some of you don't know. The reason I wasn't here last year, about the time I was to present, I was diagnosed with cancer. And serious diagnosis, but I'm hanging in there. And so I'm doing okay, and as long as I'm doing okay, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing because I absolutely love doing this. I will tell you, over the 13 years' time, I've had about 5 people in the lineup thinking that they could take over, assume. They do some responsibility, but they either move or start their own homestead. And so I've not been very lucky with that. Fortunately, 2 of those people are running Discovery. So Chris Verkirk took on the lead at Discovery Park, and along with another gardener of mine is Shauna Miller, and she's helping him lead that charge over there. So this will be their 2nd year. Last year was probably one of the toughest years we've ever had growing. It was the 2nd hottest season on record, along with the smokiest. It was terrible. This picture, all of about a week apart, I think, shows you the air quality. And then we thought we were in the clear when this cleared, and then we had that fire out at Micron. So it was hard. It was hard on the plants, and it was hard on our gardeners. Last year, we had 41 days on our schedule, and I canceled 6 Tuesday night work nights because of the heat. And I think we canceled 1 day because of the smoke. And so that took us clear down to, 32 days of work. I mean, that was it in 6 months' time. We also had a lot of disease last year, unsure on what some of it was. We definitely had some blight, and that creates a lot of disappointment, and that's a lot of the ugly that you see. And so the year started out hard for me, and it was difficult in the garden, but there's beauty in all things. We have 33 absolutely amazing families and their children that become a part of this garden, and we become a family. Some of us have been together for 10 years or more. Some are brand new this year. We have so much in common around that garden space. It's just a real neutral space in our lives, and I think it's a safe space for everybody, along with just a great mental health location for all of us. We like that. The rows are beautiful. The plants look great. People walk by that park and walk by that garden by the hundreds, especially starting now through the end of fall. And all they can do is comment on how beautiful everything is. They just absolutely are constantly complimenting everything that we do. So we have to be reminded when we're seeing the ugly and we're seeing the bugs that it's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful space. The garden's rooted in relationships. Like I said, some of us have been together for a long time, and they have a dedication to this garden unlike anything I've really ever experienced before. And I think it's one of the reasons that I stay with the garden is because there's just a huge commitment. I have great helpers. I have a lot of people that come alongside me. They want to work alongside me, but nobody wants to be me. Nobody wants to like actually, they're afraid to take over, I think. But we're learning. But our relationships are not only with one another, but they're in our community. They're with you, the city of Meridian. The food bank in Meridian is probably our biggest place that we drop food off to. They absolutely appreciate the produce. I was at a master gardener meeting a week ago, and one of the gardeners came up to me who works at the Meridian Food Bank and said, "We just can't get over how beautiful your produce is." So once again, there's beauty in all things and beauty in the food that we're able to deliver. These are just some of my gardeners, and the smiles that are on their faces kind of tell a lot of stories. We have young people to older people, best friends, new family, somebody that's been with me for 10 years. So we have a lot of fun in that space. And we stay connected. One of the things I realized is you can have a garden that runs, basically April through October, but what happens when you're downtime? And it used to be downtime, rest, let's not do anything, maybe do a little bit of planning. But we offer a lot of classes. We get together, some of us bike together, some of us hike together. We've been hiking the last 3 years. We do the first day hike on January 1st. I went skiing this year. It was a bucket list item with my friend Dick. It was really sad because I couldn't get back up, so I'm going to have to work on that. But we have classes throughout the season. This was our party at the Pavilion B to celebrate our group the end of the first part of September. We're always learning through the problems that we've had in this garden. I think what we've realized is we will always come to the garden as students because there's always something to learn. And I think when we stop learning or choose not to learn anymore, that's probably when we need to be done. Up in the top right-hand corner picture, we were planting a very special and very expensive row of zinnias this last year that we think probably ended up with alternaria blight. And we had no zinnias in the garden last year. And if you know anything about our garden, we've always shared flowers. We shared a handful of flowers last year, but not 500 like the year before. We're hoping this is the year of the zinnia. That's kind of what the next year's annual report will probably be titled, because we need zinnias in our life. And once again, we hold classes. We've got planting classes during the winter. The picture with the umbrellas is a picture of some physical therapists that we invited to the garden at the beginning of the season. And they basically talk to us about how to move in a garden, how to use our bodies in a garden, exercises that we can do just to make sure that we're staying safe. We had a fermentation class. We usually offer a pruning class. We still have 14 fruit trees at the garden that we're trying to maintain. A little challenging, but we're doing it. I think we'll lose one this year. So we lost one last year, and I think we'll lose the other peach tree this year. But we have enjoyed having them. The joy of the garden are the little people. And we have little gardeners and junior gardeners who learn to do absolutely everything that the adults do in the garden. And on one of the very, very hot days, we had a kids class scheduled. And as you can see, they ended up over in the Arboretum area and to enjoy some shade. It just tends to be pretty hot out there. We have teachers who have projects for them 2 to 3 times a month. This is a salad making class. That's a popular class that we have, but you can see there's just so much joy on their faces that reminds you what it's all about. But they're helping, they're harvesting. This one's taking notes. They're harvesting potatoes here. I think we harvested the biggest potato that won at the fair this year. So that's always fun to look at. And growing food. So that's our primary focus out there. The families that are a part of this garden, I think we're at a place now with the cost of food and just the cost of everything in general that people are needing the food more than they have before. And I think we actually gave more food to our gardeners last year than we actually delivered to the food banks. We were just under 6,000 pounds last year to the food banks that we share with. And I think all of us have an we're worried about our environmental impact. We want to be sustainable. We want to grow organically grown food, even though we're not certified organic, we can grow things as organically as we know how. And I think a big question that most of my gardeners ask is, do you know where your food comes from? And it's just important to us to know where our food comes from. This was a load of chalupa romaine lettuce. And if you grow lettuce, that's one you'll want to grow. It's absolutely amazing. Romaine. There was a harvest of apples. That was just one of a number of baskets. And it was a peach tree that was absolutely loaded. And on Tuesday, I made the decision that we would harvest it on Saturday because the peaches would be perfect. And somebody came and harvested it for us. So an entire tree was harvested and that happened one year to the Honeycrisp trees as well. And then just numerous donations to the food banks. We also delivered to Community Ministry Center up on the bench, and then the Seventh-day Adventist Church opened a small food bank around the corner. And so we make sure that when we're delivering food, the places that we're delivering it to can absolutely use it. This was new, and I don't think either of you knew about this. We always like to have little secrets, and we used to ask permission before we did anything, and then we started asking forgiveness. We started a little mushroom farm last year, and we grew some mushrooms. We found this nice little area, and we grew wine cap mushrooms. And we didn't know if it would work, but one of our gardeners is a mushroom expert. So we built 4 beds and we planted mushroom spawn, and we actually grew mushrooms and we harvested mushrooms, and we're super excited about that. So it was not enough to really share with the food bank, but it was enough for us as gardeners to do that. It's just a little to the left of the pollinator garden over there, in case you want to know. It's kind of hidden. We didn't advertise it. We didn't Facebook it because we didn't want anybody to find it. And actually, when we were putting it in, I asked Kyle, Joe, Wade, there was a bunch of them there, and Kyle said, why would you want to grow mushrooms? And then he said he thought there might have been some Fusarium wilt over there. So we had to do some research on whether or not we could do mushrooms and if they'd be in competition with Fusarium, but worked out. We grew them. The Western Idaho Fair, we were winners, not as big as last year, but we were still the big winners, which is big news. For the 3rd year in a row, we won another Blue Ribbon Award. This is about half the number of ribbons that we won last year, or the year before. In 2023, we were huge winners and had so many ribbons. And we've won Best of Division, and it's just been a lot of fun. Jim McMahon is in charge of the Agriculture Division, and he was, I think, impressed that we had won a couple years in a row. And this is just getting ready for the fair. This is kind of how we do it for harvesting something. So those are banana peppers, and they'll lay them all out, and they're looking for like the absolute 3 perfect ones that'll go, and we pick them, and then we deliver them, and we have a group of ladies, and we go out for Mexican food afterwards. And no men because they don't ever ask to join. And the flowers, we had a few flowers, and those were from the park along with some from our homes to try to have a showing. Our cantaloupe is prized. It's absolutely delicious. The pollinator project at both Heroes and Kleiner are maturing. The one at Kleiner Park has a couple of dedicated people that work on that. They're gardeners of mine. But we continue to see an increase in the pollinator population, along with, we've learned a lot about the plants that work well in that location. It was a tough location to start planting initially just because it has overhead watering, along with, we've added some drip in there, but we see quite a few pollinators. And Heroes Park, we've had a couple of volunteers over there. It too is maturing. We had a lovely donation at the end of the season from somebody with a handful of plants. And so I'm always looking for donations. But we got it planted. So it's the main area, if you've been out there, was planted. And then the far right end and the far left end are not planted as far as you can go, but everything else is full. We had 40 hours of volunteer work. We had some Girl Scouts who came and worked and planted and learned. We had a group from EE Tech and a group from ENEL. And the ENEL group comes out every single year to help us close down the garden. We also had a group of FFA students who have been involved with this teacher, Trish Stokes, from the beginning of time. So she was part of this garden before I was a part of this garden. She's a teacher now over at Meridian High School, but she was at Mountain View for years. But they come in and just help with whatever we need. We had 192.5 hours from labor detail. I have them scheduled every year for 1 day a month at Kleiner and 1 day a month over at Heroes Park. And they just help take some of that extra work off the load and allow us to focus on some of the really, really important things. Final notes, we couldn't do this without our partners. We have people all over the community that just have something kind to say, want to share something with us, drop donations off all the time. And that's huge. Discovery Park, I was glad to see it come to fruition. It's exciting to see that happening. They're attempting to duplicate a similar program. Our group meets on Tuesday nights and Saturday mornings. It's a schedule. And they're attempting to do the same thing on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Treasure Valley Community Garden Cooperative, I've talked about that before, but it was a group I became involved with and helped with during the pandemic, and it was to try to connect all the community gardens in the Treasure Valley. So we've done that, we've connected. Some of us have stayed better connected than others. We have a website that we're trying to develop now. Mary Kay, who runs that, is trying to secure funding for how to support the people that run these gardens. And so over in Boise, there's a lot of sustainability and green programs that I think she may have support for some of the Boise gardens. Boise has a couple of farms, you know, Spalding Ranch and Bugs, where they can run programs like that, and they have a hired farmer. I do not know what happens when I can no longer do this, or if Chris is unable to do that, or how you find somebody to do it. For me, when Katie left, I stepped in, and that was 13 years ago with no intentions of still being here. But it's definitely a heartbeat. So we're investigating that, ways to maybe find grant money or something where we can find stipends to maybe provide a little bit of support for somebody that's running a garden, trying to be in charge of a garden. 2025, it's on the books, it's happening, we're planning, we're planting. My roster's full, we're excited, we're hoping it's a little bit easier, better year than it was last year. And we hear about a shade structure, and Mike and I have been in contact about a shade structure possibly happening out there. We've worked for 13 years, and it's the 14th year out there for, I think it'll be for that garden, but it is, it's hot. As the weather has continued to change, it makes it very difficult to be out there and to have kid programs or to have even adult programs. And so we're very grateful to see that maybe come to fruition this year. And if you know, the mayor was kind enough to give me his legacy award this year. And that was my quote to Steve, just thank you for trusting us with your dirt. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else or any questions.
Thank you, Julie. As I stated, your report is one of my absolute favorites of each year. I want to thank you for 13 years
Thank you.
of love and hard work in that garden. I could write books with all the questions I have for you tonight, but I'll just ask two of my own and then extend out to my fellow commissioners. With regards to what one of your top points in your report was weather changing and timing. Have you noticed or had the circumstance where any of your produce bolted throughout the year
All the
last year?
time. Last year, we planted 2 rows of broccoli that was this tall when it bolted, and we planted early.
Okay,
So that's just common.
right.
Yeah.
And then as far as, pests, disease that you were also talking about, I noticed in one of your pictures that, yes, you have space between your rows, but a lot of, especially like the lettuce, they're kind of close together. Is that typical, I guess, in the sense of, the spreading of disease and pests from the contact between each other? Is that?
Pretty mindful of that. The bigger problems that we have are with tomato plants. And we have good spacing on the tomato plants. We tend to do a lot of market gardening, growing, and so you'll see a lot of intensity in our planting, things like lettuce. That's just not a problem. It actually keeps out the weeds. And we're not even so much about killing the bugs as we are about just making sure we have all the right things there that just everybody takes care of each other. But spacing is important.
And then just as a side, on that same topic is, as far as your fruit trees, are you also noticing any pests within those, fruit trees as well? Not so much on the trees or within the canes or the branches, but within the fruits themselves?
So apple trees, unless you spray aggressively, you will always have some worms in your apples. And then the peach tree that we lost and the peach tree that we'll probably use have borers. And that's a common problem with stone fruit. And so last year we replaced a plum tree that died. It just was not a healthy tree to begin with. And then the peach tree that we took out with a pluary and a plucot. So we're kind of excited about those additions. And like I said, we've got another peach tree that'll probably need to come out, but we have enough apple trees, so I'm not really sure what we'll plant. But, you know, we can do, and Mike and I have talked about this, and I've talked to tree people before, you know, organically, you can spray copper fungicide and dormant oil on your fruit trees, but it's all about the timing. And you can be a day too early or a day too late and just miss those bugs coming through. So it's really a way for a lot of landscape companies, they can make money doing that. I mean, you want to have good timing on that unless you're doing it frequently. We choose not to use chemicals other than those. And so organic farmers are pretty used to cutting the worms out of something before they make an apple pie.
Yeah, that's,
I'll tell you a broccoli story sometime, but not here.
that, that's been in my experience with 2 cherry trees in my backyard. I haven't been able to enjoy a single one in 2 years.
Cherries are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any additional questions for Julie, from the commission? Commissioner Bobo?
No questions, just comments. I love your garden.
Thank you.
I I also get excited when you have your presentation, and I missed it last year, but whenever we bring friends and family in town, I always take them to your garden if it's like spring and summer, and people are always so impressed. Goofy as it is, I'm amazed. I didn't know that a loofah grows the way that it does.
People were so amazed last year.
And I show it every time. I must have shown 10 different groups last year, the loofah plants.
We're a destination. I think we're a stop on.
It is, in my family, you are, that garden is a destination and people are always impressed. So it always gives me a little like, I love my town. My city is so great.
Great.
Look at this amazing garden.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to tell you, I appreciate all the work you do out there because it is, I think a lot of people learn from your garden that you don't even know about, people that just stroll through and look at all the little signs and can look at it and be like, whoa, I did not know that
We
is
do that
how.
On Facebook, you know, we try to share a lot of education on Facebook. And we're up to almost 2,500 followers. We think that's pretty exciting.
I'm one
Not
of
a lot,
them.
But we
I
think
learn
it's-
a lot. I know when to plant. I know when to put my seeds in the jugs and I know when to do. things.
Exactly.
I follow your guidance, but thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Greer?
Julie, I don't have a question. I'm just grateful that you're still here. I'm sorry to hear about last year. If we did want to get a hold of you, as far as maybe to help out with something, is the best way through Facebook?
You can message me through Facebook or you can just email me, jkboke, BOKE @msn.com.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for,
Thanks so much.
I was like, has it really been 13 years?
What?
I kept thinking, has it really been 13 years? Like, oh,
Yeah, Katie, so the garden opened partway through 2012 when the park opened.
yeah.
And then my husband and I joined in 2013. We planted the garden with Katie in April and May, and then she moved to Oregon in June.
Oh.
And that's when one of the ladies said the garden's going to die if somebody doesn't take it over. And my husband said, well, you're not doing anything. And I've also told him, like, if he quits beekeeping, then I could quit the garden. And I don't think he's going to quit beekeeping anytime soon.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Like,
Oh, yes,
I-
Commissioner Roberts.
I did have just a, oh, sorry.
Well, but, yes.
Commissioner Dennington, you go ahead.
Thank you. I just had some comments and one question. So first of all, I love the mushrooms because there's nothing like tasty fungus. So I thought that was really, really great. I was wondering, I was excited about seeing the children out there doing so much and learning so much, because I think that's something that's lacking in our society, because the kids don't know where food comes from, how it's, gets to the store. They just think it's at the store. So I love that the kids are really involved. I wondered, do you work with the school district to have them come out and do any kind of tours as well, either with elementary or mid?
It's not really a good fit, although they know that we're there, but I'm working with Barbara Morgan STEM Academy. My daughter took over their garden in 2021, and we've got 18 raised beds there, and a lot of what we do in our garden transfers over to what's happening at Barbara Morgan.
Okay.
And we make ourselves available. I mean, so people know that we're available and we can come help them with projects.
That's great, because as long as they're aware, maybe there's some way they can work that into their schedules or however they work it. I wondered about, and this might go with Steve as well, in the new parks that are coming on in the future, are we going to try and do community gardens in all of the future parks at all, or is that minimal?
Certainly not all. It depends primarily on the ability to find someone to run them, which is a bit of a unicorn. If we have another major park like a Kleiner or a Discovery, we will definitely be putting out the feelers for someone like that. But with neighborhood parks and smaller community parks, we don't try and add them there. They belong in the larger regional type parks.
Okay, so, and then I know that you're trying to find somebody to come over and take your position, and so that's obviously not an easy thing to do, to spread yourself out even further.
It's difficult. Yeah, I mean, just to find somebody that can make the commitment. And I know Chris, his struggles are, he sees what I do, but he knows that I'm retired. And, he's not, he's working. And so there's some challenges with that.
Yes, but I want to commend you for a wonderful job. I mean, it just looks, the pictures are beautiful. What you're doing is wonderful, so thank you so much.
Well, come June, you can visit us on Tuesday nights or Saturday mornings and we'll be there.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
I just have.
Sorry, Julie, one more. Oh, Commissioner
I'm
Roberts.
so sorry to keep you. We're all so
It's your
interested
time
in.
schedule, not mine.
Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations on the award from the mayor and all the ribbons. That's fantastic. And
Did you guys even hear the story about this? Like, I did not know this was happening at all. And I walked into Wahoo's with my husband and Shelley was like, well, let me show you where you're going to sit. And she goes, well, you could just sit right here next to the girls. It was my girls. It was my daughter and my daughter-in-law. I did not
Oh.
recognize them because I didn't know why they would have been there. It was that weird. Yeah,
that's-
thank you.
What did they say to get you there?
Shelley had called and said, the mayor wants a couple of people at this event. Could you come? And of course, I know Shelley. I didn't think twice about it.
Well, I did have just a couple of quick questions. Shelley is the best. So the peach trees, was it the borers that got the one? And so it's
Probably the second
probably
one,
too hard to overcome that and have another peach tree, huh?
Yeah,
Okay, that's just too bad. 'Cause-
it's hard.
but your cantaloupe are great. And I just have to ask you a question. What do you do about squash bugs? Last year, they were so bad.
They were bad everywhere.
Yeah,
They really
yeah.
were. Of course, you can rotate crops. Of course, you cannot plant squash. You can plant squash later. So like waiting until July 4th,
Okay,
put some squash in, that helps. It can help to get that first cycle gone. You can use things like BT, which is an organic
Yep.
thing that you can use. So that's a possibility. We have a lot of little kids that like to pick them off. I mean, they're picking off squash bugs, but not the vine
do.
borers. You can wrap your vines in aluminum foil or the stuff that they wrap your arms with after a blood test. You can do that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it's a battle.
Heard about that.
It's a huge battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're not going to use poison.
It's a bane.
And the
Yeah,
other
and
thing
I
too
don't
is you
want
can
to.
also set up a trap crop so you could plant an early plant, put it in a pot somewhere, and then I'm convinced just poison that plant.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a possibility.
Yeah,
Acorn squash and blue Hubbard are good trap crops.
okay. All right, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Did it.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. All right, we have a update. We have an update on Margaret Aldape Park with Jose Duran from the University of Idaho.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Duran. I just want to say first, thank you guys for letting me take the time to present to you guys. A little nervous just because I've never been in a presentation just like this. So, but yeah, just to introduce myself, yeah, like I said, my name is Jose. I'm a current grad student for the University of Idaho, but I'm also a full-time construction project coordinator for Sunshine Landscape. So some of the parks for Meridian, I mean, we've worked at Discovery Park. And yeah, no, so thank you guys for having me here. Sweet. Can I control this? Sorry, technical difficulties. Um, yeah, I just need to go to full screen mode. It's on this lower corner right here. Yeah, no worries. Okay. So for this project, I took it over during my undergrad of my senior year. We had a student working on it and sort of just left it midway. So after joining the grad program this last fall, I talked to Mandy about going back and doing it since I do reside here in Boise. Doing this park would be really nice because it is here locally off of Highway 16. And I'm just very familiarized with the area. So knowing that the city of Meridian is going to be doing this park is pretty awesome. So I'll just start off a little bit about just some of the work I've done. I did a little bit of research on just the history of the family. Margaret Aldape, she was born in 1923 and resided here in Meridian. That huge chunk of land located right off of Highway 16 north of Highway 2026, that's actually hers and it's been maintained well by the family. If some of y'all don't know about the Basque heritage, I mean, they came out here to Boise primarily to sheep herd, which is kind of different compared to what Idaho is mainly known for, which is cattle herding and just ranching in general. But sheep herding became a big thing in the 1800s just because wool was becoming a big boom in this area. I mean, you could use wool for about anything, clothes, I mean, making your carpets, and that's primarily what the family did. Just to go into, just to go into like a little bit of the studies I was doing was just understanding what the nearby cities were doing. So going into the city of Eagle and what their future land use was, a lot of it's just primarily residential. What you see in Eagle is a lot of high-end residential. Near State Street or near Highway 2026. So it was sort of understanding what can be done near the Boise River. How can you extend a greenbelt to that area? So then we go on to a little bit of the eco zoning and understanding what each of the area does. So one of the biggest parks that they have there is Eagle Island. Eagle Island being such a natural park. In my last presentation, I talked about how we can incorporate both parks as sort of like gateway parks. Eagle Island being sort of like a landing area, and then having Aldape be sort of Meridian's first extension of the Boise River Greenbelt. And then just understanding what the city of Meridian was doing. I mean, you all may know better than me what the city is planning, but I saw a lot of residential. A lot of residential is booming in this area, and I mean that's really nice. But that also brings into play where can the community get together? Where can the community be involved? And as of right now, there's not really a park in northern Meridian. So this park will bring sort of like a gateway for not even Meridian, but any nearby community such as the city of Star, city of Caldwell. What's really nice is we have State Street and Highway 2026 sort of connecting all the cities all together, but most importantly, the Boise River. So, and then the thing about this park is when I first started to do conceptual designs for it, it became very difficult just because I wasn't understanding what the floodway or the flood zone areas would do. That's until I did my presentation with the city in December of last year and found out that I needed to scratch my whole entire design. I was having structures up to the northern area where they could be washed away from a huge storm, and that would not work. So I started looking into the FEMA maps and understanding that maybe I need to put some of my structures down to the south, or just try to avoid to keep the northern area of the park sort of naturalized. And so then this goes into goals that I had for the park. Being that the family is of Basque heritage, I wanted to include and interpret art and displays that just sort of like commemorates both the heritage but also the community of Meridian. Develop an intentional entryway, and I include this picture of the Kleiner Park just because I love this entryway every time I go. I live right next to the park, so it's honestly very beautiful. So it sort of feels like you're going into a gateway of heaven. So. And then next thing, limit the disruption of wildlife currently living in the park, but also enhance the wildlife habitat. If you all have ever been to the park, once you step in, it sort of feels like you're just like, how do you say? I want to say you're in the middle of nowhere, but it feels like you're away from all the urbanization that's sort of happening around. I mean, there's State Highway 16 that's currently being constructed with the brand new freeway, but it doesn't feel like it exists. So. That's what's so nice about the park, and all the birds and all the wildlife that currently lives there. It'd be nice to like limit the disruption of it. Another thing was the inclusivity and diversity of recreational sports, that being disc golf, kayaking, active transportation, and just different sorts of recreation. This is the biggest important one, create a pathway system to develop Meridian's first axis of the Boise River Greenbelt. The city of Boise currently has their whole system of pathways, but Meridian it does have the opportunity to create something sort of similar but something better. And then the next thing is develop access to both the Boise River and the Adobe Pond. So this goes into a little bit deeper into like the goals that I had. So like I mentioned, for recreational activities, active transportation, hold multi-purpose paths that promote just, walking or biking and engages community to gain access to the entire park. Kayaking being one of the biggest ones from my presentation with the city in December was kayaking would be just an awesome sport with the pond located in the area. It's a focal point. As some of y'all may know, like when you enter Kleiner Park in the city of Meridian, those two ponds you're just drawn to to the water, So then we go on to fishing. I wanted to include the ponds to be stocked up from fish that currently reside in the Boise River, whether that be rainbow trout, small or largemouth bass. And then when I was creating the park, I thought it'd be nice to, include recreational sports such as basketball and then soccer. But when I started to understand what the flood zone would do, I figured that those would all be washed away, and there would be no fun for the children there. So then we talked about including disc golf, and disc golf is just, is an easy sport where you could just put it in a pool and then it'll just stay there, and then, you don't even need to like maintain it. So that's just what's nice about it. And then the next thing. So as you can see, I did here like a mock-up of what I would want the sort of like the displays to be. But also incorporate basket art around the park to just commemorate the Dape family. I mean, they're the ones that are donating the land, so it's only right. But also develop a system of wayfinding signs around the park to just display where you're at, because it's such a huge area, you're gonna get lost at some point, So below you see, just like I mentioned before, the mock-up of the old master plan that I drew up from my last presentation. And this is some Basque art. I just wanted to include the sheep herding, and then there's a statue from UNLV in Reno, where they actually have a statue implanted of a sheep herder and his dog. And it would be really nice to just include that for the park. But limit the disruption of the wildlife. So down below are actual photos of what the park currently looks like. It's just, a buttload of vegetation. And these are just some of the birds that are actually located in the area. So it's just, protecting their habitat and just limit the disruption. And then just develop an intentional entryway. As I mentioned before, once you enter the Kleiner Park, it's just so beautiful. You feel like you're going into heaven. So it'd be awesome to do something like that for the Aldape. And as you can see, I did another mock-up for it. And then develop Meridian's access to the Boise River Greenbelt. And this is actually a recreational pathways map actually drawn in September of 2023. But the park is on this northern section where, as of right there, the only pathway that runs through there is from the subdivisions located off of Highway 2026. And to gain access to that would just be awesome, because then you're able to get access to both the naturalization of the Boise River, but also connect yourself to the rest of the pathways that are existing on the southern side of Meridian. And then also connect City of Star, City of Eagle, and City of Meridian in a cohesive greenbelt system. And whether that's using pedestrian bridges or multi-use paths for biking or walking. And then these are two mock-ups that I drew up of the park. So down below is the Aldape Pond. So, having just a natural area to just be able to kayak or fish, and the Boise River too, holding many pedestrian bridges, and, as well, going fishing. So this was my first conceptual master plan. And as you can see, there's a lot of failures to this, just because towards the northern section, that's where I had playground structures, soccer fields, big statues, parking lots, like all that would get washed away if a big storm like Snowmageddon happened again. And that would not be good. Someone would actually be liable for that. So I went ahead and I just redid the entire master plan. But I also started thinking big, because there is a neighboring property that holds another pond. And from the city's comments was, we have to think big for this park, because eventually, you never know, maybe they would want to sell this area. So this is sort of the master plan I decided to come up with. And feel free to ask any questions. I could just go through basically what it is. So for within a park, we need to include a City of Meridian facility, and that's just goes for like maintenance. There's one in like pretty much every park. Multi-use paths and a system of paths just all around the park, just to be able to walk and transport yourself to wherever you may want to go. Towards the front, on the left corner, that would be the Adope Bass Center, and that would include a lot of bass history, but Adope history as well. On the southern portion, it'd be I moved the Adope Plant Walk, and that would be filled with the pollinator gardens and a lot of native plants. And there's a lot of little shelters and areas, and that would just be to like gather and picnic. Playground, just because within a park, we always need to give access to children to enjoy it. But then also the pond, and the pond would hold a ton of it would be fishing docks, but also a gazebo to just enjoy the area, but pedestrian bridges to just be able to go through the waters that currently reside in that area. And to the north, that would be just natural area, which we need to preserve and protect. And this is where we would have the disc golf, just because, as I mentioned before, if a flood were to come, I don't think anything wrong would happen to just the poles and such. So, and then I would include different, from the pathways, I would include different areas so you could gain access to the Boise River in case someone would need to fish and such. So, yeah, that sort of wraps up my presentation. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time. So, thank you guys again.
Thank you so much, Jose. And are there any questions from the commission on his report? We'll kind of go from the far end and work our way in.
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner Helms.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just thank you. This is really very interesting. Could you tell me, are we east or west of 16 on this part?
Where is this located? That was.
Oh, yeah. So this would be located towards the east of Highway 16.
East of 16?
Yeah, and north of Chinden.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Looks great. I just.
Oh,
kinda
awesome.
curious. I'm looking at my own map.
Yeah, I should have put
trying to
I
figure
should
out
have put a
what's going on.
north arrow. I sort of missed that.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that the flooding always raises a lot of concerns. So
Yeah.
anyway, good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is an LDOT map on the, but it's not the same park, right? Yeah, it's a different one,
Yeah,
right?
this one doesn't have a name yet. 'Cause
Okay.
It is.
Got it. I was trying to find it on the map. I couldn't. You have a question
Commissioner
or is it my
Roberts,
turn?
did you?
Well, I wanted to thank Jose for coming today. Jose is my student, by the way, so I'm a little bit proud, but I do want to just say that, yeah, I think part of the process here has been just learning more about the floodplain and the floodway and what's appropriate for, placement there and what's not. But Jose's done a great job to really kind of rethink that and relocate some things. And I think we'll meet with staff again to probably get more technical input and guidance, because this project's going to be going through the end of the semester. But just thanks for being here, Jose. We appreciate it. It is spring break, by the way, so Jose came in.
Yeah, it is spring break, but I mean, I'm still working, and so the job never ends. So, yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Commissioner Bobo.
Still have questions. So what's there now?
As of right now, it's just there's a current pond, and there's just a bunch of wildlife, and I would just say just a bunch of shrubs and trees, and it honestly just looks like a natural land. Yeah.
And then does it already connect to the river, or is that part of the park plan?
No, that would be part of the park plan. So just like as I mentioned before, it would sort of serve like a kayaking gateway. But it's more for recreation, and I think it would also, I mean, the park staff could sort of like help me out with this, but I believe that if a flood ever came in, that the pond would sort of help relieve any sort of disruption done by the river. So.
That was it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Greer.
I say thank you. We're so fortunate to have someone that is as passionate and thorough as you to be working on a park. I appreciate the history.
Yeah.
A lot of, well, if you're from here, we have a lot of relations to the Basque community. I think I found the location. It looks like it may be just south of and across the road from Palmer Lane and north of Spurwing. Does that sound?
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit off to the side. So my question is, this is just north of where I live. How, do you know how you guys will have access to the property? Because I know there's a kind of a canal with like a ridge.
Yeah.
And so is that kind of one of the,
Yeah, and that was the biggest challenge, and I think that's part of my next steps, because to gain access, you do need to go through the subdivision of Spurwing and go all the way towards the north side of it and go down to where the canal is. So that's a really good question, because I also brought this up on my last meeting, if gaining access to the park would be more appropriate through Linder Road. But yeah, I have yet to find a solution to that.
and I don't mean to ask questions that you're not
Don't worry.
there yet. I was just curious because I'm like, well, how am I going to get there?
Yeah,
Black Cat, they could take, but they'd have to cross the canal. So
yeah.
Under might be easier. Well, thank you. It was a great presentation.
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Dennington.
Yes, thank you for your presentation.
Yeah.
It's great to, see, I love, young people doing ambitious projects. So this
Yeah.
is really great. I wondered about the size of the Basque building, for the community center or the, what is it, the center there?
Yeah.
How large is that building going to be?
Primarily, well, right now, this is all conceptualized. So in the end, if the city decides to take some of my ideas, I would more than love that. But I would just think it'd be just like a standard building, probably the size of like, how would I put this? Probably like a 20 by 30 foot building. Nothing too big, because in the end, it's just gonna feature a lot of art, a lot of history. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any additional questions, comments from the commission? Hearing none, Jose, thank you so much
Oh.
again.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jose.
Oh, no, you're fine.
We don't bite.
Oh, wait.
All right, and our final public presentation this evening, Meridian Parks and Recreation Department classes and camps update with Jenna Fletcher.
Great. I think I got that saved correctly. Maybe. Wow, thank you both of you guys, and also go Vandals. So, all right, thank you guys. If I haven't met you yet, I'm Jenna Fletcher, the recreation coordinator. So thank you for joining me and letting me come to you guys. So classes and camps. I'll give you just kind of a brief overview of classes and camps. So I oversee everything that you will see in our activity guide, basically every single contractor in all of those summer camps. So we're getting into our busy season. So summer camps are coming along, and then all those activities you see, whether you participate in yoga, line dancing, fencing, kendo, I oversee all those contractors and book all those people out. So just a quick revenue history. We've actually had a pretty stellar year last year. We're looking really good. Don't look at 2020. That didn't happen. So we're looking really well. We kind of break it down. Classes, those are all of our classes. Like I said, mentioned tennis, fencing, kendo, yoga, painting, photography. Those are all of our classes that we offer. I also like to break it down within summer camps. So we offer 3 different summer camps, and I'll get into that a little more. Our Camp Meridian is our day camp for ages 6 to 11. That's kind of your typical day camp, summer 9 to 4, which we actually did adjust hours this year. We're a little nervous to see how it went, but it filled up within 8 minutes, so we don't really have to be. So that's our Camp Meridian. It's obviously one of our most popular camps. And then our Outdoor Adventure Camp, that's our camp for ages 9 to 14. Again, one of our most popular camps. We fill up within 10 minutes. That's our camp that we get to go take the kids up Bogus Basin. We get to go rafting. It's also the camp everyone wants to volunteer for. I know Rachel loves to volunteer for that one and get up there. So again, we do really well in these camps. I'm always obviously looking to hire more staff, because the more staff I have, the more camps I'll be able to hold. There we go. So some 2024 successes. So like I said, Camp Meridian, again, one of our biggest camps, 752 kids come through. We did run a full summer this year with the new West Ada adjusted schedule. We took 18 trips to the pool, which I did have one save. Garrett was there for my save. Yeah, not even a hired lifeguard, and I did a save. 18 trips to the park. We go to Settlers, Kleiner, and Discovery, and then we took 14 field trips. So we go to the zoo, we go to Birds of Prey. We have also some of my contractors come in and do some things with the kids. Our Outdoor Adventure Camp, again, same time frame. Not as many kids. We do only have one van, but I take about 10 to 12 kids, and like I said, 76 kids came through that camp. And then our 2024 classes, we offered over 800 classes. So all of those classes are all these great, wonderful things that people get to participate in. And like I said, over 4,000 people participated in activities through the year of 2024. Just some quick pictures. This is a video that we'll see if it plays. No, I wish it was. It was very funny. I don't know. Oh. This is shameless because it is my kid, but he was very proud because he finally got a green wristband to go off the high dive.
That's awesome.
So we take over, obviously you can see, we take a ton of kids to the pool, we take it over, they have a blast. What does 2025 look like? So I'm hiring right now. If anyone knows anyone that wants a summer job for 9 weeks, send them on over. We run over at Sienna Elementary and Discovery Elementary, 40 to 45 kids. And again, the same kind of thing. We'll run 9 to 4. We'll get those kids out and running. Activities, summer's our busiest season. Our activity guide will come out April 2nd. We'll email that out to everyone. That's when we get our huge tennis camps going on, youth art, photography. We have youth pickleball. We have adult pickleball, line dancing, gymnastics. I mean, really anything you can kind of think of. Just listening, oh, Julie's gone. I was gonna say, just listening to Julie. I was gonna say, get my camp kids over out at the garden. And then outdoor adventure, rafting, bogus. I also do an adult rafting trip also. I take active adults up rafting, and we do some half-day rafting and a full-day raft trip. So we've been partnering with Bear Valley for the past couple of years, and they're great with them. They take them down. We also go to Starlight Mountain Theater every year. I love that because I love going up there and seeing all the plays. So, but if anyone wants to join, I always encourage everyone to sign up for these things. Like I said, the classes we offer, photography, art, yoga, line dancing. We have some council people that love to come and do our classes, so it's great seeing them sign up. This is our outdoor adventure camp. They go up to Bogus. They do get to use the chairlift. They don't get to get off the chairlift, and they have to put the safety bar down. And then we take our kids to Jump Time. It's one of our favorite ones. So our locations that our classes are held at, the Meridian Community Center, which we currently have right now, and I will continue to use that until I say I cannot. Home Court Bay 5, we've been using this now, gosh, past 5. I mean, how long have you had home court for? Yeah, and I don't know when, I mean, Jake was running stuff. Yeah. So yeah, so we're in there, and then if you haven't been over to Bay 6, which is what we call where the church used to be, that's that place right there. So we did a big remodel right there. Same kind of flooring. It has a stage, which our jazzercise and line dancing instructors love. And then the Meridian pool, that's that classroom that's upstairs. And so we have all of our art classes that take over that space right there. This is what our kind of a layout of how busy we will be this coming summer. So I send these to all of my instructors, and this is what is booked in the pool, that classroom, from June until August. So there's not a ton of open space. So these classes are running 8 a.m. through the evening. So this is just the pool, and we have 3 other facilities. So the Meridian Community Center, again, we're booked 9:30 to 3:30. Not a ton of Saturday stuff. I totally get that. It's the summer. Home Court Bay 6, again, it's packed 9 to about 6:30. Lots of different classes coming in there. And then Bay 5, again, that morning and evening time block. So we're very busy. We like to offer lots of things and keep everyone kind of active and engaged. How do people hear about us? So Shelly and I work together on the activity guide. I get all the content for her, and she's the brain behind putting it all together. Since she has been out for a little bit, it has been me, and I'm so happy she's back so she can come and take it over. We do email blasts, so we have about 40,000 emails in our registration system. So if anyone has ever signed up for a class, their email is now in our system, and they receive all these emails that we send out. And then social media, again, Shell's in charge of that. Instagram, Facebook, I think those are our only 2 right now. And then our current happenings. Like I said, I'm planning summer camp right now. It's a busy time for us. We're interviewing, we're hiring. I have a camp coordinator that works with me through the next couple months. Planning summer 2025, getting everyone booked and hired. And then the new community center, which I think everyone has heard about. Yes, okay. Don't want to be like, surprise. So Garrett and Steve and Mike have been so generous enough to let me sit in on those to kind of help me get some ideas of where we might be able to schedule some new classes. And that's all I have. Questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you, Jenna. Do we have any questions for Jenna from the commission? Commissioner Bobo.
What's harder, staffing or space?
For summer camp or for just classes in general?
Both.
Both. So staffing for summer camp has always been so I started in 2019, and we were running 3 different sites. So we're fully staffed. 2020 comes along and kind of implodes everything. And so we've just kind of been, I mean, there was one summer where I ran one camp and we split weeks, like 5 at one site and 5 at another site. So getting staff is really hard. I think it's a great job to have because especially for college kids, you're coming in for 9 weeks, you're guaranteed 38 hours a week, and you get to go and do all these fun things. So spacing for summer camp, we get to be at the school. So we have a great working relationship with West Ada. We have in our contract any new elementary schools, and we do get to be in there. But again, I mean, I could have 4 camps with however many kids sign up, but I just don't have the staff. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes.
Over here. I
Commissioner
think it
Garrett.
kind of goes without saying based on the presentation she does, but Jenna does such a phenomenal job when it comes to summer camps and the classes and programs that she puts on. Camp stuff in particular, yeah, we made some adjustments to the times and stuff like that, but it went super great and they're super popular. Yes, because people need childcare, but the other reason is the way she organizes it, keeps it affordable for kids to participate in it, and all the activities she does, it's just an awesome camp. I've had some family friends get in the camp and they loved it growing up and stuff. So Jenna does a phenomenal job when it comes to all the things she does. And she's always wanted to jump in and help with anything in our office. So kudos to Jenna and thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Wonderful. We do not have any workshops tonight, so we will move on to our staff reports. Steve, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, few items for you. One, I wanted to let you know with the welcome reception of the Kleiner Park Community Garden update tonight that we have reached out to the Discovery Park Community Garden for a presentation next month. So we can follow one with another. Puts a lot of pressure on them to follow Julie, but especially when it's their first year. But nonetheless, they had a wonderful first year, as I think you saw when we went out on the parks tour. Great first year for that garden, and we'll try and get, is it Christopher Kirk from as the leader of that garden to come and give a presentation to you next month. Also listening to the comments and questions from the commission about the Aldape Park site. How many of you have been to the site in one of our previous tours? I'm trying to think if all of you are new since we last went out there.
I think so. We went like my first. Was it it's the park where it has the gazebo where the flowers are in the design?
No, that,
Is that some,
so that would be Rita Husky.
okay, that's the one.
Aldape you would have walked to the Boise River on that tour. So it's been a little while.
A
So
long time ago, right?
yeah, I think it was pre-Snowmageddon, which was 2018. So maybe 2017 was when we went.
Yeah.
But
I recall because it felt like it was the middle of nowhere.
Did you
It's
go?
all developed, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. So
I just thought it
if
went
only
away.
one of you have been, probably behooves us to take the newer commissioners out, everyone out, but hadn't dawned on me that so few of you have actually been there and seen it in person. So we can't just up and go, but the family's been really easy to work with and I'm sure would host us. One of the brainstorms, I'm just literally speaking off the cuff here, but we typically do a team building activity in June. I think June's our preferred month. It's usually been June or July. We go to a park, we have a barbecue. Maybe we look at, can we go with some kind of a picnic lunch out to there's not a gazebo and there's not, existing shelter with picnic tables and things. So I have to think through the logistics of that, but we can take some folding chairs and some folding tables and maybe do something out there and take you on a walk to see that, because it's really cool. And for being so close to being in the city, it is remarkable to me how much it feels like you're in another, like you're far away from everything out there. So a wonderful piece of land. And if there's interest, I'm seeing lots of nods, but maybe we'll look into going there for our team building activity in the summer instead of just going to a park with a, kind of a barbecue type thing. So I'll give that some more thought.
Excuse
Yeah.
me,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, is there any way that you could go to Google Earth to show, I think I found the location, but I think everyone was having kind of a hard time understanding that. Is that something that Rachel?
I don't know. Do you know if you can share Google Earth? Or, I mean, even just Google Maps would work.
Yeah, anything just to, I think I have it located, but
See if we can share it. If she can bring it up, I can drive and take us there.
the swoop in the river. It's way,
It lines up, I think, between what would be 10 Mile and Black Cat. Yeah.
I think it's taller.
Get their spur wing.
All right. Are you able to see it though?
Oh my God, I want to make sure we got a spot. I think it's just south of Palmer Lane, but across the river. Does that sound right? I think it's right there.
Yeah.
It's further away from 16 than I thought.
Dude.
I'm a pain. Thanks, Joe.
If you want to share. Okay, we've got it up on the screen. Now we're going to see if we can share it to your computers. So hold tight.
Dun, dun.
Okay. Can everyone see the map on your screen? Okay. This is Chinden down below, and this is Highway 16 extension, and this is Linda Road, Fred Meyer. Costco is going to be where, right about here. So that just orienting you. The pond, so if you go, I'm right now between 10 Mile and Black Cat, and straight north of there, this pond right here is what he was showing as Aldape Pond. So in rough terms, the outline of the park follows this fence line, goes south of that pond a little ways, because this is the only area that's outside of the floodway where we can put structures like he was talking about. And then the property line cuts up something like this. This pond is on a neighbor's property, and goes up to the Boise River. This is the Boise River up here. So something like that. The Aldape's homestead is down here. So this is part of their property, all of this. So if, to get there, we would be going through, this is Spurwing subdivision, I think, and then down a hill, across the Phyllis Canal. This is the farmstead. And, if we were to meet there, we'd probably find a place in this gravel parking lot area here for some tables, unless we can find something closer. But you got to take, some farm ditch roads. You have to actually cross the water at this point in the slough, and then come down and you get to the pond. So this is, be kind of cool if we could set up down here near the pond. But anyway, TBD. But then it takes, it's a bit of a hike from there through all this forested land to get up to the river. But it's a beautiful walk, and that's where it's located. Yeah.
So
Thank you.
it seemed on his picture, when he was showing his master plan and what he was going to do, it almost looked like he was connecting where it says Boise River over to the pond. Is that what you guys saw as well? So I don't,
Yeah, so it's not currently
but he's going to
connected, but
connect
that
it.
would be.
They're try to, sorry.
Sorry, didn't mean to talk
Conceptual.
over you.
Okay, so he would try to cut something through to bring the river over.
And that may not be
Feasible,
pardon me
right?
for just speaking up here, Chair, but that may not be technically feasible. It's a concept or an idea. So,
This section of rivers, this is pretty open through here, but as you go further west, there's lots of down trees. It's not safe for navigating the river. It would take a lot of coordination with the state and others who have jurisdiction over the river to get permission for an active use like kayaking to be able to connect to the river. I think it's not out of the question, but it's a big lift to get there from where we are today.
Well, it almost seems like there should be not a dam, but something that closes the river off from feeding constantly, because now you're going to open up the river into a pond, into an area, and that water is going to go somewhere. So anyway, I think it's a neat idea, but maybe
They're pretty much at the same level right now. I mean, the pond fills naturally with the groundwater at the level that the river's at. So we'd have to get a hydrologist involved before we ever did
to
anything.
see how that would flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, put it on the dream list, not on the will-do list.
And also talking about the pathways connections to other pathways.
Greenbelt, yeah.
You know, that, and the green belts and pathways, and he talked about Eagle Park, State Park, connecting to that.
So Eagle Island State Park is west.
Right.
East a few miles.
Yeah, it's off to.
And the green belt pretty much is on this north channel. So in this section of there's a north channel and a south channel. It splits clear over here in Garden City area, and it comes back together here, a little west of Linder, right a little before our property. So it is back to one channel here, but most of the green belt exists along the south side of the north channel, although there is some green belt down here on the south channel as well.
Mr. Chair and Steve, can you hear me?
Yes.
Emily?
I just wanted to kind of caution that we're a little far afield of the staff reports. So it's a really interesting
yes.
topic, but we might have to notice it as a separate item.
Okay. It fit in with the Margaret Aldape Park presentation, so I was thinking it could be part of that, but I'm happy to leave it there and just say we will look at possibly visiting this site with our tour or with our team building activity.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emily. And thank you as well, Steve. Mike? There are no other questions for Steve. Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to say on my other updates that, we're heavily into base budget season. That's taking probably a majority of my time right now. So lots of work on the base budget. We also have a citywide for employees, all employee meeting. And that's coming up next month. And there's quite a bit of coordination between myself and other directors getting ready for that. So with that, I'll stand for any questions and move on to Mike.
Any additional questions for Steve? Thank you, Steve. Mike, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, so we are working on a shade system for the community garden this year. It's been a lot of iterations going back and forth with the shade company. So it's shade sails and poles at different heights. And it's kind of organic feeling, and it fits with the garden. We're trying to integrate it into the garden without it looking like it was just kind of plopped there and stuck on the side. So been working on that, and I'll give you an update here when we finalize everything before we order it. So working on that, the restrooms at Lakeview ongoing. working on U-stick roads getting widened there's 3 miles of it are getting widened, and there's medians that will have landscaping in them. So we're coordinating with ACHD consultant and putting the construction in our future budget years and timing that with the when the road is scheduled to be widened. There's one section that's being widened right now, and that one's the design is pretty much finalized, and so we'll bid that in October when we get the budget. So working on that, and Ninja Course is going in soon. The equipment showing up on the 21st, and supposedly the installation crew will be here then too. So we'll have curbing and excavation and gravel done and drainage done before that time. So Steve mentioned Roger's retirement, but I wanted to mention Jeremy Aldrich, if you've heard that name. He's been the assistant maintenance manager for a long time. He's been in the Parks Department for almost 20 years. He left, he wanted to be a police officer for 2 years and came back, and he's been with us for a long time. He's going to be the new maintenance manager. So we did an internal promotion and which is super great. I mean, he knows where everything is, and he is probably the best staff member there could be. I mean, he gets so much done, and a lot of what you see out there are because of what Jeremy does and the way that he directs staff that's underneath him. So it was a natural fit. And that's about it. I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Helm?
Yeah, just a comment. Yesterday, I was actually playing golf and took a before and after picture of the new restroom that's going in versus what's there now. They're not open yet, but I'll tell you what, if you want to really justify the system or that improvement, look at this photo. And so I'd be happy to share if anybody wants to see it. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Yeah, we're getting there. Black Cat is opening up Wednesday on the north side by U-stick. So now we can close it on the other end and make our final connections out into Black Cat. And electrical's going. We should have the first one lit up by here in a week or so, and then the next one within the month. So, and then the other 2 buildings are ordered, and we had a pre-bid on the utilities today, so we're getting that. That's in the same kind of rotation. They're getting delivered in September, so hopefully those will be open this fall in October maybe. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank you. Yes, any additional questions? Hearing none, Garrett, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Really what we've been doing, like Steve said, is a lot of budget work, going over next year's budget and figuring those things out. A lot of community center, working on the just minor little tweaks here and there. I'm getting that all lined out. Starting to be in a lot of interviews right now. On the recreation side of things, we have an arts and culture assistant seasonal position we're doing interviews for on Friday. Working with Cassandra. Golf seasonal hires. We have an admin position open right now as well. Obviously lifeguards, summer camp staff, scorekeepers. The list kind of keeps going on with when it comes to all the people we need for seasonal help once the summer stuff starts. And that doesn't even count the park seasonals that I know Roger and Jeremy are going through right now as well. Other things that we're doing. I just went to council last night to kind of float some pool fees, really to kind of help. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, thanks. Get the pool fees approved. So I'll be going to a public hearing in the next couple of weeks at council to try to get some pool fees approved. One other thing that I know Steve and I have both been kind of working on is the Idaho Parks and Recreation Association is hosting their annual conference in Nampa this year. So that's where all the recreation and parks professionals from all over the state come, and we kind of get into a conference and go through classes and different things together. In Meridian, our staff, Jenna, Steve, and I, and a couple others are helping organize that whole conference this year. So that conference is the last week in April 28th, 29th, something like that, through May 1st, that we'll be attending as well, but it's here locally, which is always a good conference to go to. And then really it's just kind of ramping up for the summer. So with that, I'll stand for questions as well.
Thank you, Garrett. Any questions for Garrett from the commission? Hearing none. Kim, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So pathway wise, working on the 5 mile stretch of pathway west of McDermott Road. Plans are pretty much complete. Nampa Meridian's looking at them. We hit a couple of somewhat unexpected roadblocks that we're working through. But I think once we get through those, we're pretty much ready to put it out to bid. So that's not a sure thing yet, but we're confident we can work through that. Good news on the trail hub front, at 10 Mile Road, the 5 Mile Creek Trail Hub, we are budgeted to do a new restroom building, not unlike the ones that have happened at Lakeview. But we've been in a bit of a back and forth getting permission from ACHD. So we finally did get that license agreement approved. This is a parcel of land they offered a portion of us to develop several years ago. Said you could have a trail hub here, but we don't actually own it. We just have a long-term agreement to build things on it and maintain it. So in order to put this additional building, we needed a firm permission. Looks like that's coming through. Rail with Trail, we just met today. We have, or yesterday, excuse me, 60% plans for that stretch of pathway just west of City Hall. And funding is online, and we're anticipating final plans in July so that we can put those out to bid and target a start of work when the irrigation water dries up in the fall, because we need to do some work in the channel. Otherwise, lots of plan review. Yeah, busy enough. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Kim. Do we have any questions for Kim from the commission? Hearing none. Thank you, Kim. All right, that concludes all of the business for our commission as far as the agenda goes. Do I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Greer.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting for tonight.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sandow. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So ordered. We are adjourned until the next meeting, Wednesday, April 9th, 2025.